Hi there, this is AruvaChan, and today I'm going to be talking about when I was an art teacher. So, I wasn't the normal average, elementary school art teacher. I was actually a private art teacher. So, this all begins back when I was a wee lass of 19. I was entering my second year of college, and I had done my first year at a community college just to get the credits out of the way. And community colleges are a lot cheaper than normal universities or normal colleges, so I figured that was probably the best route for me, and it kind of was, because I didn't end up using any of my college credits because I didn't finish college. So it was okay for me in that sense. So I was 19, and I had just started my second year of college, and I was brand new, fresh to a university. I had never been anywhere but my parents' house, so I was really excited. I was super excited to be on my own and an adult, and I was super, excited that I could study art, and I got as many art classes as I could get, which was only 2 at the time. But that helped me because I could take drama classes, and that kind of led to this. So I had the same art teacher for both classes, and he was super cool, super nice. I talked to him all the time. Probably one of my favorite professors. He knew a lot about artists. I don't know if he knew a lot about art. He liked to paint stuff, but I'm not saying I'm better than him. That's not. But I was in one of his class. I was in his figure drawing class, and I was doing pretty good. I didn't realize it was like an entry-level class, but I'm assuming, most people have to take that. I really enjoyed it. I took it, and I got a lot from it. So I was okay with it. Now, once the class was finished, there was a digital art class. Now, when I signed up for it, I thought it was going to be a graphic design course, which it kind of ended up being. It was supposed to teach you all about graphic design and how to, create your own books and art portfolios and that kind of stuff, which I eventually figured out how to do. We used the program called Lynda, and Lynda was great. Taught you how to do different things, and we used it during class, and we learned a lot, and it was great, I guess. I don't know. I don't really like graphic design. It's not really my thing. So I learned a lot from the class. I learned how to use Photoshop, which was one of the good things that came out of that class. But nothing else really kind of mattered in that class. As bad as that seems, nothing really stuck with me. I don't remember most of the things. A lot of the things were go on the internet and look this up, because I don't really know how to do it. Which is what we did. How do I save in Photoshop? How do we import something from Paint into Photoshop? Okay. And we basically learned all this from Lynda, which wasn't bad. I don't really care who teaches me, as long as I'm getting taught. So, it's no biggie. It's no big deal. And we were trudging along one day, and my professor comes up to me and he says, "Hey, I see you really like art, and you're really motivated to do art, and you're really good at art. So I have a lady who is interested in getting lessons for her daughter." And I say, wow, that would be really cool. He was like, "Oh, well, just send her an email. I don't know how many people are applying, but send her an email and, say you want to work with her daughter, and hopefully she'll get back to you. So I'm typing out this email in class, and I say stuff like, I'm really excited to be considered. I would really love this job. I can't tell you how much I want to do art. Like, it's incredible how much I want to do art. And I, like, having this opportunity would be amazing, and I love kids. I really do love kids. They're pretty cool. They're really cool, actually. They're really cool kids. I would be a babysitter, honestly. Yes. So I sent her the email, and I get a reply back maybe 40 minutes later. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you to work with my daughter. Like, I'll absolutely hire you. Like, how about $20 an hour? Like, does that sound okay? And I was floored how fast she replied to me. It was incredible. I didn't realize that I was, like, the only person who applied. And maybe that was what my professor was kind of doing. Like, he was giving me a chance before anybody else, because I apparently was the best fit for her. And when I first got to their house, I was a little nervous because I didn't know them. I was going to somebody's house for the first time. When I first got to their house, I met the parents, and I met the siblings, and then I met my student, who, I'm not going to say her name, but I'll call her M. I met M, and she was super shy, and they took me up into their attic, and we did, like, their attic was like the workroom. We did a few drawings of different things. Like, we put some vases and, like, a old and broken violin, and we drew those a couple times. And I began talking to M, saying, hey, how are you? Like, what are you interested in? Like, I'll try to best suit your interests. Like, if you're interested in, music, I'll try to, I'll play some music while we're here. And I remember the thing we clicked on was the Warrior books. And if you've read Warrior books, you will probably know what I mean when I say we clicked on Warrior books. I had been a huge fan when I was little, and, like, all throughout high school I'd read them. So I knew the entirety of the story. Now, the story is still going on, which is basically what we talked about. Like, I had finished the books, and I was in college, so I didn't need them or whatever. Like, it's too much to read in college, because you don't have any time in college. Oops, just hit the mic. You don't have any time to read in college because you're doing other stuff. So I talked about the books with her, and that's kind of how she opened up to me, which was great because I learned that she did like drawing animals, and we had focused on a big project, which was a portrait of a lion. Or, not a lion, what am I talking about? A portrait of a tiger. Wow, I don't know what animals are. A portrait of a tiger, and it was beautiful. She had drawn it out before, and her parents were like, this is what she should probably be working on, like, we'd like her to finish this, and we don't exactly know where to start. So I got the picture with her, and I was telling her, like, oh, well, what colors do you see in this picture? Now, as a trained artist, you can see a lot more different colors than, say, a normal person. Like, I think hairdressers also do this, like hair colorists, they also have this, where they can see colors a little bit differently than the normal person, which isn't bad, it's actually very good. You don't notice how deep colors are until you have to look at them for so long. Like, oh, this color isn't, gray, it's light blue with some yellow in it. And that's the kind of stuff that I was teaching her. I was teaching her how to view colors and how to understand them to work better in her art. Like, she was doing acrylics, which I had never worked with acrylics before, so it was a little difficult for me because I'd never experienced anything with acrylic. I was mostly watercolor, and I had used oil paints before, and I didn't have much to teach her in that aspect, so I just began teaching her how to use her eyes better. And we had done this with similar things. Like, I had brought her into watercolors and said, well, what colors do you see here? And I would have her examine the picture for however long, and she'd say, oh, it looks brown. And I say, just brown? And she'd look at the picture, and she'd look deeper, and she'd look a little further, and look a little harder, and she would say, oh no, there's orange in this. There's orange in this picture. And I'd say, yes, like, amazing, that's great. You're finally seeing it. And we would work from that. So we were doing this tiger, and it took a long time since I only had about an hour with her every week. We were probably getting to the finish of it, and I actually had to go home, which was super sad for me. And she sent me the picture once she was done, which I don't have anymore. I'm so sad that I don't have it, because it was so good. Like, she had improved so much through the entirety of it. It was crazy. Like, I had seen the pictures she had done before, and they were really good for her age. Like, she was 12. They were really good for her age. And they, they were good. They were really good. I know I said this, but they were really good. Especially for, like, a 12-year-old. She was 12, and she was getting private lessons. And you could tell how dedicated her parents were in this. And I had talked to her a few times, and I said stuff like, oh, are you really interested in art? Or, is it kind of just your parents making you do this? And she was like, oh, no, I'm really interested in art. Like, I love art. And she was telling the truth. And I was like, well, what about all these other things that your parents make you do, like music and, public speech? She's like, I'm not really a fan of that. So that was just me trying to get to know her. Like, I wasn't trying to pry or anything, but I learned a lot from that. And it was as much of a learning experience for me as it was for her. So back to her art before. Her art before, I would say, lacked dimension. Like, it looked like her paintings were about as 3D as they could be at the point she was at. When I left, she gave me a painting, which I guess is how I was trying to transition. When I had left, she gave me one of her paintings that she had showed me originally, and I actually have it hanging up on my wall. And every time I see it, it reminds me of her, and I get kind of sad. But I had looked at the painting, and she said, I don't understand what's wrong with this picture, but I don't like it. So I look at it, and it's just trees and bushes, and you can see sort of a sunset color orange in the background. So I tell her, your picture doesn't have any other colors. Now, normally you would try to make, the shadows a little bit of a different color than just a darker green or a black. She used a lot of black in this picture just to, do the shading. Like, she had mixed it with green, but it was still very harsh. And she used 3 colors. She used brown, green, 4 colors. Brown, green, orange, and black. So I told her this. I said, your colors are very static, like very the same. Whereas if you had used a purple to shade, or like a deeper blue to shade, it would have given it a little bit more of a dimension to it, or even like a orangish brown color, just so it would fade into the background. And I told her this, and she says, okay, like, now I'm starting to get it. And it really, I don't know if I can explain what it feels like to teach somebody, because it's difficult. It really is. Like, I've taught my friends how to draw stuff, but it's never the same with every person. And she was so willing to learn. It was amazing. I honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better student. Speaking of a better student, I had one who was, I wouldn't say worse. He was her younger brother, and I loved him, and I'll call him E. E was great. He was fun, loved Power Rangers, let me know it, and I was I was sort of drafted into bringing art and, music into his life. They had hired me on as a music and art teacher for E, which I was cool with because I love art. And I knew how to play piano, and I knew how to read notes. So I brought that with me, and I brought like a little scale, and I taught him how to do it. I said, if you ever, want to play the Power Rangers theme, you can learn how to play it now because you know how to read notes. So I taught him, they wanted me to teach him to enjoy art and to do art, which you can't really teach somebody. So what I did was I did the things he was already comfortable with, but I would try to put an art spin on them. Like, I saw that he had a sandcastle set. Like, he was like maybe 8. He was very young. And he definitely had like ADHD because he just couldn't sit still, and he always was doing something different, and whenever he had his attention somewhere else, it would just wander to the next thing, and he would run around the house, and he'd be, kind of everywhere. He was super cute though. I absolutely loved him. Well, he didn't like normal art and normal music, so I taught him to explore art in the way he was comfortable, which was by playing with chalk outside and doing, normal kid stuff. So we started off with the sandcastles, and then we moved to crayons. So I said, what's your favorite Power Ranger? And he says, oh, the Red Ranger. So I say, well, he didn't just say the Red Ranger. He was like, oh, I love this Ranger, this Ranger, this Ranger turns into a dinosaur. This Ranger is blue. So I say, what's your absolute favorite Ranger? And he says, I love the red one. The red one's my favorite. So I tell him, I say, why don't we draw you as the Red Ranger? So I take out his colored pencils, and we take out some paper, and we sit down, and I say, what Ranger do you think I should be? And he says something like, the Gray Ranger. So we both draw ourselves as Power Rangers. And after that, I say, why don't we draw our own Power Rangers now? And he was like, well, Power Rangers, you can't really make your own. I said, why not? He's like, I don't know. So I say, why don't we draw our own Power Rangers then? We can make up our own. Wouldn't that be fun? So we start drawing our own, and he draws this awesome Transformer thing. And I'm not too into Power Rangers because I'm a little bit older than he is. A little bit. Only a little bit. I'm like 9 or something. He draws this really cool Transformer thing, and I say, wow, like, what's that for? He says, this is what we would transform into. Like, wow. Like, he's got so much creativity just inside of him, and nobody's really known how to unlock it. So we do these kind of things, and when he's learning his, scales in piano, or when he's learning row, row, row your boat, he's also sitting at home when I'm not there, and he's learning the Power Rangers theme. Like, he was starting to get it, which is amazing to see as a teacher, because I don't know any other person who is that young who I taught or who I've known that got something that fast. And it was because I tried to cater to his interests. If I hadn't catered to his interests, he probably wouldn't have connected at all. Like if I had said, okay, we're gonna learn row your boat, we're gonna learn that, and we're gonna play it over and over again until you get it right. No. Like, I know what kind of kid he was because I was that kind of kid. And I was like, okay, we're gonna learn row, row, row your boat. We're gonna learn Saints Go Marching In. We're gonna learn this, this, and this. We're all gonna learn them in one day, and I'm gonna see what you remember next week. But if you don't remember them, that's cool, because we're gonna do them all again next week. And the next week I would come, and he'd have them all memorized. Not because he wanted to, but because it was just something for his hands to do. And the next week I'd be like, okay, we're gonna learn Rudolph, and we're gonna learn, Jingle Bells. And, next week I'm gonna see if you remember all, 8 of these songs. And, as we got further in, he stopped remembering some of the songs, so I would bring him back, and I would say, okay, we're gonna do this song again, and, you know, we're gonna just enjoy being here. And I was teaching him how to express himself in art and express himself in music, and it was just amazing. It's an amazing feeling knowing that you're contributing to somebody's well-being and somebody's, you know, happiness in the long run. Now, I don't know if he'll ever use this kind of stuff when he gets older, but it's a hope, I guess. Like, I'd love to see him just, like, his whole entire family was musical and artistic, so he was lagging behind, I guess. So it's nice. It's just nice to know that I helped in a little way. Like, I don't care if he becomes, you know, the next Mozart or the next, I don't even know, Beethoven or Picasso. Like, that doesn't matter to me. But he now has an outlet where he can go, I want to draw Power Rangers, but I don't want to draw their Power Rangers, I want to draw my Power Rangers. And that, overall, that was probably the best feeling that I had in a long time. Especially in college. Like, college, you're just like, like, you don't do anything in college because you're just dead. But like, I feel like that's the time I did most of my things. Like, when I was running. Like, I'm constantly busy. Which, that helped me too. Like, I learned so much from these kids. And I feel like I got a lot out of it just like they did. And it's just something that I'm really #blessed to have. And I'm really happy that I got to experience that in my life. And that's why I have such an, okay time doing these kind of things, is because I know a lot of you guys are kids and you can, you know, learn a little bit from this. And I know if you're not a kid, you can still learn a little bit, or you can just hang out with me. Like, that's what I really enjoy about these videos. Speaking of these videos, I think that's just about it for me today. And I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I know I ramble, so if you've got this far, I super appreciate it. Like, I was gonna do a script this week, and I was like, maybe next week. Like, I couldn't finish writing it because it's difficult. It really is difficult. And like, I had gotten almost all the way through it, and I was like, I don't want to talk about this at all. So I picked another topic. Like, I've been working on a script for an hour, and I didn't want to say it at all because it's just too boring. And when I ramble, I don't have to listen to myself be boring. But anyway, that's it for me today. I really hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you next time. Bye.